Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Sophie Scott. Coming up, a special look at the field of genomics. Could we all be about to carry around our personal DNA map on a USB stick? But first, researchers at Macquarie University are investigating a new treatment for childhood anxiety. They're using an antibiotic which is normally used to treat tuberculosis, and the results look promising. Before she had treatment, Shania Pereira's fear of spiders was so great that there's no way she would be able to be in the same room as this arachnid. She took part in a new trial for childhood anxiety at Macquarie University's Emotional Health Clinic.
Well, I feel a bit less scared and I can go to rooms that have spiders in them.
As well as being gradually exposed to spiders, she took a medication called decycloserine.
It was originally used as an antibiotic for treating tuberculosis, but in very small doses just before the exposure therapy. It helps make the non-fearful learning that is taking place during the exposure therapy more strong.
When given just before an exposure session, it's been shown to improve the chance of a faster and longer-lasting recovery. The medication helps patients learn that what they fear is safe. It improves how patients respond to therapy, so they're less likely to be fearful in the future.
The hope is that it would allow kids to overcome their anxiety more quickly.
As well as spiders, researchers are trialling the treatment in children who are scared of dogs. So far, the results have been good. It's hoped a new vaccine being trialled in WA will prevent children from contracting the most common form of meningococcal infection. 1 in 10 cases of the disease are fatal, and researchers say a vaccine for the strain is desperately needed. Here's Stephanie Dalziel.
Kristen Graham was 19 when she contracted meningococcal B. She spent 2 weeks in hospital and months in rehabilitation, learning how to walk again.
Well, talking about it at any stage, my heart pounds, my eyes well with tears. It's a horrific experience and I don't want anyone to ever feel it.
Perth researchers have now started a clinical trial of a vaccine against meningococcal B, the most common strain of the disease in WA. Study leader Dr. Peter Richmond says if the vaccine created in Italy proves effective, it could be on the market within a few years.
Well, it will mean we are able to prevent this terrible disease, and I would hope that in the not too distant future, meningococcal disease will be one for the history books.
Meningococcal B is very difficult to treat and moves so quickly, often by the time it's diagnosed, it can be too late. Researchers say preventing teenagers from catching the disease will save lives. 12-year-old Ryan Hart has already signed up to be a part of the study. Volunteers will be vaccinated twice and have 3 blood tests.
It makes me feel good because it shows that I'm helping people out there as well, so then they can get more information on this study.
The vaccine is also being trialled in Canada, and WA researchers say if it's successful, it will be rolled out to other countries where the disease is common.
Thousands of dementia sufferers are said to be missing out on valuable treatment and support. That's the gloomy verdict from a new international study. It's one of the first insights into the extent of the dementia epidemic that's sweeping the world, and the news isn't good.
This World Alzheimer report estimated that 3 in 4 people of the 36 million people around the world with dementia remain undiagnosed.
Researchers from the King's College London found at least half of people in richer countries with mild to moderate dementia were undiagnosed. A delayed diagnosis means patients are missing out on treatments and therapies that could help them.
People's symptoms decline less quickly, people retain their function for longer.
An Australian report found it takes about 3 years for patients to be diagnosed from the time of their first doctor's appointment.
People need to worry about their memories when it's a dramatic change. There's a difference between losing your car keys and forgetting you have a car at all.
The reasons why are many and varied, from denial on the part of the patient or family to the false belief that dementia is a normal part of ageing.
The main reasons are lack of awareness by the public, fear of seeking a diagnosis, lack of skill and time by general practitioners.
The report recommends better support for GPs to help diagnose dementia earlier. It took 10 years and $3 billion to map the human genome, but that was just the first step. By next year, it could cost as little as $1,000. Suddenly, a future in which people carry their genome around with them on a memory stick is just around the corner. It would revolutionise medicine, but it also raises the question, do we have the right to our own genetic information? Michael Clay reports.
Mapping a human genome used to be costly and time-consuming. But in 2007, a new range of technologies pushed the cost of mapping off a very steep cliff. These new technologies have brought us to an ethical dilemma. Should people have access to their genetic information, or are there some things we are just not equipped to understand? Chris Ryan had a very good reason for wanting to explore his genes.
My mum was adopted and we don't have knowledge of our biological background from that side.
Chris used a genetics home testing kit sold by an American company, 23andMe. For as little as $100, 23andMe will tell customers their risk of developing over 200 diseases and conditions. But 23andMe is not the only player in the growing market for genetic testing over the internet.
We believe that there's enough knowledge on markers that this can actually be of value to everyone.
That's Romain Bonjean, the chief executive of Lumigenics.
We don't subscribe to the layman argument. We strongly believe that everyone should be entitled to the genetic information.
Some in the medical community have a problem with this.
Is there the support, is there the sort of counselling that's available under normal circumstances when you deal with a genetic condition?
Ron Trent is a professor of molecular genetics at Sydney University. He's also the chairman of the federal government's Human Genetics Advisory Committee. He's sceptical of the claims made by some direct-to-consumer genetics companies.
That some companies are providing tests, which we still don't know if they're legitimate tests. Some of these tests have just recently been described in publications, so they may or may not be correct.
And as Chris Ryan found out, the tests can give results that are quite confronting.
I have a carrier gene of cystic fibrosis. If I carry that, potentially if I would ever have children, I could potentially pass a disease on to a baby that I create.
Romain Bonjean of Lumigenics wouldn't tell Chris if he carried the gene for cystic fibrosis.
We believe there is no clinical context or clinical help in releasing those results. We strongly believe that there needs to be a supervision from a medical or a healthcare professional.
The Australian regulator agrees. Last year, it decided that access to genetic information sold over the internet should be restricted.
Tests that don't involve a health professional aren't acceptable for serious medical conditions.
But it's not explicit what a serious condition is. Lumigenics offers tests for over 81 conditions on its website, including melanoma, colon cancers and type 2 diabetes. The company does this with a disclaimer that it's not providing health advice.
What is it if it's not health advice?
Currently, our website is an aggregation of the latest genomic research, expressed clearly to people that are curious about their own genetic knowledge.
It promotes the fact that all of us, every member of the community, has the right to that information, and that's perfectly reasonable. We all have right to the information. The big question, of course, is that information accurate?
And would we understand the information once we had it?
I think there was some information in there, though, that you really struggle to understand without having to do hours of research on Google.
I guess at the end of the day, if I have a complex tax issue, I don't try to solve it. I go and talk to the experts.
But finding out is one thing, taking action is another.
I mean, I still go out drinking, I still do everything I normally do, so I guess it's more of a novelty because it's not going to tell you what you're going to do, it's just giving you information that could be useful.
They may be a bit of fun now, but as the genomics revolution gathers pace, these ethical questions will get harder to answer.
Australian researchers say they could be on the brink of a major breakthrough in treating asthma. They've found areas of difference in the DNA of asthmatics and hope to curb the activity of the gene with drugs. Donna Field reports.
Marianne Venables has been asthmatic for most of her life.
It is something that does become part of my lifestyle. I can't go anywhere without my little grey friend, my little Ventolin inhaler.
2 million Australians have the respiratory condition that can cause shortness of breath and acute attacks that can lead to death. But new research may change that.
What we found were 2 regions of the DNA that were consistently different between people with asthma and without asthma.
Dr Manuel Ferreira leads the largest Australian study of asthma genetics. He says one of the gene variants that increases the risk of asthma may respond to a drug used to treat rheumatoid arthritis.
This gene that is more active in asthma patients plays a role in inflammation. And because it plays a role in inflammation, there is the potential that you could attempt to target this gene to either prevent or treat asthma.
The research will now move to a trial phase to see if the medication is safe and effective in asthma sufferers. With 60% of all asthma cases genetic, not environmental, the results could prove a major breakthrough. That would be life-changing for sufferers.
If there are clinical trials in the future, if I was eligible for them, I'd be very interested in participating.
The researchers say if all goes to plan, trial results are about 3 years away.
Australian research on so-called smart drugs has just been given a boost. Smart drugs deliver medication without damaging side effects. Now one of the country's leading researchers has won a prestigious scientific award. Dr Georgina Such grew up in a household where chemistry was dinner table talk.
My father is an industrial chemist, and so it's always been a passion in our family.
She followed in her father's footsteps, becoming a chemist specialising in substances known as polymers. She's now working on creating a smart drug, which she likens to a set of Russian babushka dolls. Each layer of the drug would have a different purpose. She's using 2 different techniques to produce intelligent materials that deliver cancer drugs straight to the tumour.
We would be delivering the drug straight to the unhealthy cells and releasing it in that site, and thus we wouldn't get all the healthy cells being affected.
The advantage is that patients would get the benefit of medication without the side effects.
In the next 5 to 10 years, what we really hope to see is that we have a smart capsule which can get to the right part of the body where there are unhealthy cells and deliver its cargo specifically in that site.
Her work is gaining recognition. She's just won a fellowship to take her research to the next level. And that's all for this edition of the Health Quarter. You can get more health news at the ABC's Health and Wellbeing portal, abc.net.au/health. And we'll have another Health Quarter in a fortnight. Bye for now.